Well, hello and welcome to your favorite hour of the evening where you just sit back, relax, and listen to conversations that could come from a diverse point of view, anything that matters to Ghana. PM Express. And today we are looking at Doomsor. Indeed, ASEP has come up with a statement before the elections that look, after the elections going into next year, Doomsor could creep back on us just like it did. And you sit back and wonder, are we going to go through this again? Do we have remedies for it? Indeed, the government says no. We have enough installed copper, enough installed power. We have machines that can switch from gas to crude. So what's ASEP talking about? Indeed, that's why I'm here to ask, what is ASEP talking about? My name is Nana Sakwa the Fourth, Akwamwedu Masahini, and also your host. When I come back, I am talking to people in energy who understand what it is that's going on. The move. Well, thank you very much for staying. Is Ghana returning to darkness? Is Doomsor looming at us again as we head into next year? Well, that's a question we are going to try and answer. And indeed, one thing we will also look at, what's going to be the energy policy for the government in waiting? What can they do different so we don't suffer the fate? One thing that breaks my heart is those who run heavy machinery and heavy factories find it cheaper to buy diesel to power their factories rather than plug onto the national grid. Now that is heartbreaking. But before I go, I want you to join me to say a very big happy birthday to Dr. Ishmaelaka, who's just right here, Head of Policy Unit, Africa Center for Energy Policy, ASEP. Last year, on his birthday, he was right here on the show, and today he's here too. Doc, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yes. Happy birthday, my small doctor. You know, I've always had qualms when we were growing up. And let me introduce Kojo Poku, who's an energy analyst. Kojo, you're welcome.
Thank you, Nana.
Kojo, when we were growing up, when they said somebody's a doctor, first of all, he wore glasses.
Gray hair.
Mm-hmm. And he has to wear glasses. Even if he wasn't wearing them, it was in his breast pocket.
Yes, or
hanging around.
Yes.
But Dr. Ishmaelaka is a doctor.
Small boy danger.
You see now. And I'm telling you, he's very sharp. He's very sharp. Forget about the size. It's all up there in the gray matter. But Doc, let me start with you. ASEP released a statement somewhere 4th December-ish, quite back. You put 2 and 2 together and you say, look, going forward after the elections, we could plunge the country back into power rationing again. What is it that you've seen that makes you think that?
Well, thank you very much, Nana. In fact, at the end of every year, what we do is that we look at an overview of the power and petroleum sector and try to project for the next year. So that is what we did. So we looked at the petroleum and the power sector. Now, when you come to the power sector, you see that when you compare 2016 to 2015, in terms of supply, in fact, we've had a very stable supply as compared to 2015. But there are two factors. When you, let's say that we are holding labor and money constant, that can be used to generate power. The machines and the fuel. In terms of machines, what we call capacity, I must commend the outgoing government. They added a lot of capacity. But we need to put fuel into these machines to turn them into electricity. Okay. Now, what happened is that we depend on Nigeria and our own Ghana gas for gas. We depend on God for water to our Kosombo and Bui. Then we depend on money to buy light crude oil for our thermal plants. So these are the three sources of fuel we have now. When you take natural gas, between May and November, Nigeria was not supplying us any gas. And we heard that, yes, we owe them. Now, a week before elections, Nigeria started giving us 20 million cubic feet of gas per day. Meanwhile, we have a contract with them to give us 123 million cubic feet. This afternoon, I heard the Deputy Power Minister confirming that we still owe Nigeria. So that is one. It means that gas from Nigeria may not be reliable. Now, when gas is not coming from Nigeria, it means that Asogli is down. The second point is
that 180 or 200?
Yeah, 180, but they've added another to make it about 360 now.
Wow.
Then the second point is that we get power from Cote d'Ivoire. Now, at peak demand time, we were getting about 100 megawatts from Cote d'Ivoire. Off peak, we were getting about 150 megawatts. That was before December. Now, you see that after December, the trend has been changing. As we are talking today, this evening, Cote d'Ivoire is giving us only 20 megawatts. So their demand is also picking up. Now, we used to supply power to Togo and Benin. We are not doing it anymore because we have to satisfy ourselves first. So Cote d'Ivoire may not also be reliable going forward. Then, yes, we have other plants we have to buy like crude oil and put them in. What it means is that government has to find money and buy this crude oil. So what ASEP said is that, yes, gas from Nigeria may not be reliable. Our own Ghana gas, we have to, from between April and June, we have to repair the FPSO. Now, if you are repairing the FPSO, it means that 90 million cubic feet that comes from Ghana gas will not come. So Ameri will be off. Now, TAPCO or TICO, which also rely on some of these things, may be off. But fortunately for us, 10 will be on stream, and 10 will be giving us 50 million. Now, when you subtract the 90 we are losing, 50 we are getting from the 90 we are losing, we still have a deficit of 40 million cubic feet. So what ASEP is trying to do is to draw the government, the attention of the government, that these are the possibilities, so that when we are planning, we put in preventive measures. It doesn't occur. So we are not saying we are jubilating, do so, not at all. But these are some of the possible challenges we may face in 2017. So let us plan and prevent them.
The energy minister, deputy, says that most of the machines can be switched to light crude. So even if there's no gas, it's no big deal.
I mean, we saw instances when the FPSO was down, I think, around August or June, where, yes, some of the machines like TICO or TAPCO, they can be switched and all that. And we even have plants in Tema Enclave, the Pontema plant, which also can be switched. Meanwhile, it was sitting down without producing. This is because we have a certain agreement that when VRA buys the crude or even the natural gas and gas, we first supply the private investors. So when we get the gas, VRA also needs gas from Nigeria, but we supply Asogli first. The excess go to VRA. Meanwhile, they negotiated the contract on behalf of Ghana. It's the same thing when we have crude oil. Yes, we give to Sem Power, we give to other ones before we come to VRA's plants, which I think is something we have to reverse going forward. That if you are coming in, if you have your machine, in fact, we should even do what we call competitive bidding. If you win and you want to produce, you try to look for your fuel sources, so you don't depend on. But what I'm saying is that we faced these challenges before, and some plants were sitting down because we were not getting enough money to buy crude oil for them. So what we are saying is this: the bottom line may be money. If it is money, how are we prepared to make sure, even if we can switch, you still have to go and buy light crude oil to put into that machine? Do we have the money to do it? Are we planning to do that? And that is the issues we are raising.
Because you do want to add to that?
Yeah, basically, the issue of the crude oil coming in, we realize that even if you have the money to buy the crude, you remember that there's this comparison that, oh, it's cheaper to buy from Ivory Coast than to burn crude. Crude oil, when it was below $50, was ideal for us to switch over. But you realize that today, as at yesterday, it's gone up to $57, the highest in about 18 months. The crude is going to inch up a bit. And if it gets into the territory of 60, 70, it doesn't necessarily become a good alternative, because you're introducing a very expensive option into your basket. So the crude option, we've always said that, look, I have had instances where I have been on a certain platform with Honorable Jinapo, and I tell them, look, yes, you might have stock of crude oil, But what you're doing is that anytime you burn the crude, VRA and ECG take a hit. More or less, VRA takes a hit because for what we are paying now for residential customers, anytime you burn crude, you are taking a hit in terms of there is a shortfall that the government has to make up for. So we really need to plan so that crude oil does not become a fuel option. Definitely, whenever it becomes a fuel option, we lose money.
Kojo, let me stay with you with regards to fuel. I mean, what do you put in place to get cheap fuel? How is it that you can go out there on the market and get cheap fuel?
Okay, I think one of the things that some of us have said in the past is the way fuels were negotiated in the last 4 years or the last 8 years. It has been negotiated well. I think around those tables where gas and other fuels were negotiated, it wasn't Ghana first, it was self-interest first. Reason being that if you look at the ENI project, okay, where we're going to get some gas from the ENI. The gas that was negotiated to come out of the ENI is more expensive than the gas coming from Nigeria. And some of us were saying that how is that possible? That gas that's coming from our own field in Ghana is more expensive than gas that's coming from Nigeria. And some of us said, look, it's not right, because if the fuel source becomes expensive, then naturally your end product, which is electricity, becomes very expensive. Now, in the last couple of months, they were asked to go back and renegotiate the gas price on the ENI field because it's not feasible. You believe that now HFO, which is the source used by car power, is the most cheaper than gas. Okay, and that is why you've seen that the government is now trying to ramp up the volume or the capacity of car power. Because they started off with 250 to make 450. Now they are thinking of doing the 250, bringing in another 450. So in total, we have about 700 megawatts from car power, because the HFO now in Ghana is the cheapest source in the thermal basket. HFO is the cheapest. Okay. Like I said, the outgoing administration, we've said it over and over again, when they were negotiating fuel source in terms of the gas that was being developed in Ghana, they didn't negotiate well in terms of how much we pay going forward. Some of them, the price is locked in for 20 years. Why? I mean,
20 years.
20 years. The prices are locked in for 20 years. So why would you lock in?
As in gas?
As in the gas, yes. Because you see, one other thing also is that sometimes you have to look at two sides of the problem. The infrastructure that they have to build is very expensive. Okay, because what you're looking at is that people are talking about LNG, liquefied natural gas plants, and all these gasifying plants that we want to put in Ghana. It's very expensive. They're in billions of dollars. So the minute you are taking money, and bear in mind, these are private companies borrowing these monies, and if government is borrowing around 11–10%, guess how much private investors are borrowing for? Maybe they will borrow it cheaper in their country, but when they come to Ghana, they say, look, this is how much we are borrowing at. So they now load up the maths so that they tell you, look, if we don't sell you the gas at this price, we might not be able to recover our cost within the feasible period. So we are forced to pay very high amount for the gas that is coming from our own fields. So that is why, if care is not taken, going forward, we might have lights, but we cannot put it on because it's too expensive.
Too expensive. We'll come back to the expensive thing. But Doc, are you comfortable with Mr. Jinapos' response? Because he was pretty much saying, look, if anything at all, things are going to get better.
Well, I think that
things are going to get worse to things are going to get better. There's quite
yes. You know, I think when you look at the response, there are two things I pick. The first one is generation capacity has increased, and for me that is true. But as I said earlier, generation capacity does not automatically translate into,
because we've always had generation capacity.
No, we didn't.
But
before, the problem was that there wasn't enough generation capacity.
Yes.
In the last 8 years, they've increased generation capacity.
Yeah, it has. So let's say,
sorry, what I meant throughout Doomsaw period, we had generation.
They've increased it during the period of the Doomsaw. But then the problem now changed from it being a capacity issue to a fuel issue.
Yeah. So that is one. The second one is that yes, 10 is coming, the FPSO at Tamils. But as I said, for 2017, it has been projected that they will give us about 50 million cubic feet per day gas. So it is, and that may even come the last quarter of 2017. So yes, I mean, it is not that bad. But what you are saying is that if we don't put measures in place, I mean, things may not be that good for us.
So what are some of the measures that you would advise that we put in place to avert this?
Well, I think that in 2015 December, the government introduced the energy sector levies. Now, the essence of the levies were supposed to use such levies to pay the debt of the energy sector, in fact, the utility companies. And according to a certain study by both IMF and the World Bank, when you look at the total debt, it's about 16 billion cedis, VRA, ECG, and GRIDCO. Now, what we are suggesting is that, looking at the history of the toll debt recovery, we've been paying since 2004, and we don't even know how much we've paid. We don't know when we're going to stop paying. These levies should be ring-fenced. So what it means is that we should make sure that this is the purpose for which we are paying the levies, and we are going to use it for that purpose. So if we get 2 million, we know that this 2 million, we're going to pay NGAS of Nigeria this amount so that they will give us the gas. Already VRA owes Ghana Gas more than 350 million cedis. So we're going to also pay Ghana Gas so that tomorrow when something spoils, they can get money to repair, because it's a government entity, nobody is talking. But VRA is taking gas from them without paying. ECG is taking power from VRA without paying. So we should be able to break that chain. Always say this, that, for instance, let us settle the debt. Whilst dealing with the debt, government fixed prepaid meters and all those things. When you are doing the budget, you know the Ministry of Agric, this is your light bill, and they pay by the power so that the debt will not reoccur. Then we can also explore other sources, for instance, renewables. Recently, and South Africa has shown that renewable can even be cheaper in some cases than thermal plants by doing what we call competitive bidding. Not somebody will come, oh, let us sit down, then you give them terms. South Africa just did some competitive bidding, and they are getting about less than 6 cents for 1 kilowatt hour. You understand? Meanwhile, we are here in Ghana, residential tariff, which I think times the argument is that it's even low. People are paying around 19 cents. So why can't we have some program or a project with these estate developers that when you're building new estate, you put on solar panels. We have a feed-in tariff. We have a net metering system so that, one, if you can generate more, you can even sell the excess to the government. It will help all of us. So yes, pay the debt, make sure the debt does not come again, use competitive bidding to promote renewable energy. And I think some of these things can help. 2018 is a better year because Sankofa is coming, and Sankofa may be giving us about 180 million cubic feet. So at that time, Ghana will be producing, gas will be getting about almost 400 million cubic feet. That is enough to power Ghana for us to even sell power. But before we get there, I think that we have to put in some of these measures.
One interesting thing Doctor talks about is ring fencing the fuel levy. The incoming government is saying, look, I'm going to reduce this fuel levy, to bring down the cost of utility bills. There's already a 16 billion CD. I mean, so is it a dangerous move?
I would caution. Yes, those things were said that they're going to look at the levies that were introduced and reduce them, but I will caution against that. One of the things that the incoming administration should be wary of is that they don't know the whole truth until they sit in that chair from 7th of January. So Ghanaians can be forgiven on something that they said when they were not on the seat compared to when they came on the seat. One of the things that I would advise them to depart from the previous administration, which is the outgoing administration, they were not very transparent with Ghanaians with the problems in the energy sector, okay? And I think the MPP coming in should, number one, should be transparent with us. We need to know the problem because it is our problem, not your problem. So if you are transparent with us, we can now understand what you are trying to do. Secondly, the levies that were introduced in 1st of January, which is input to help us reduce the debt in the energy sector. Look, both power and energy has a tendency to collapse the financial institutions in this country because all the banks, or most of the banks, are owed serious amount of money, be it from the energy sector or the petroleum sector, okay? So this energy levy The government can let Ghanaians know that, look, from projections, based on what happened in 2016, this levy that was in place from 1st January has accumulated maybe X amount of money. It has been used to pay down this debt. We think that we're going to put in place for another year, okay, so that we can accumulate X amount of money to retire these debts. One of the things that we need to do immediately, the reason that I think that West African Gas Pipeline is not supplying the way it's supposed to supply, because you owe. And when you owe, you can't go to the table bravado to ask for your pound of flesh.
Constantly, the government is saying that no, that's not the reason why.
Well, you see, the thing is that we've always owed them. And if you always owe them, you cannot insist, because you see, look, the contractual is a contractual. If I've paid you, then I can insist, and there are penalties for not performing on both sides. So if we pay our bills, then we can now insist on the penalty for non-performing from Nigeria. Even if they have small gas, they have problems in the Niger Delta, they can make sure that the pressure in the pipes are better. If it isn't, then there are penalties that they also face, because when we didn't pay, they cut our gas. So if we are on time with our payment and they don't supply us the gas, we can also put sanctions, because it's a bilateral agreement. Going forward, what I think that we should look at is this. The electricity bills that we are paying, we should be fair with ourselves as Ghanaians that, look, with our energy mix now, we need to pay realistic prices. The government should not come and try and tell Ghanaians that, look, it is too much. Let us sanitize. And I like what they put in their manifesto. They said, look, they will do an overview of the energy sector before they take the steps they want to take. One of the things that they should be abreast with is that if we don't do cost recovery, meaning we don't pay the right amount of prices in terms of our generation costs, and we keep building up this cost, like the doctor said, if you don't ring fence it and you keep adding on to it, you don't really know where you started from and where you're going to end. And last, and the first thing that I think they should do, MDAs and SOEs should pay their electricity bill. I don't think that's an excuse. The previous government or outgoing government had problems with it. They were never able to implement it 100%. The NPP have no excuse not to implement it 100%. SOEs and state-owned enterprises and ministry departments and agencies should pay the electricity bills.
I'm going to take a quick break here, and when I come back, I just want a clarification of the toll levy. I mean, this levy has been there since God knows when, and I know ASEP has even thought that I think it's a bit illegal by now. It should have run its course. We should have finished collecting. How come we never get the numbers as to we've collected that much and we've offset this much? Stay tuned, we're coming back. The very important subject of energy, something which I think any wise government, if you're brave enough, probably just set up a little commission, devoid yourself of it, and then it's no more your problem. Because if you go into the politics, it will show you up, and it's certainly showing the government up, not this one, but past governments. We all go in there thinking we can do charity work with energy, and then it comes back to bite us. Now, one of such things is the toll levy, a levy which you are collecting to go and pay whatever debt it is that is there. It's been going on forever and ever and ever and ever. And ASEP, I know, have raised some concerns and challenges, thinking, look, you should stop collecting this money now. It has outlived its purpose. Really? Doctor, toll levy, I mean, it's been there for a while. It's still there. I don't know how much we've collected. I don't know how much we've paid off. Maybe you being ASEP would have more information.
Yes, I mean, we also don't know, but
that's a bit worrying.
Yes, we started paying in 2004, so we've been paying for about 12 years now. Now, what we are saying is this. According to the law, and as my brother said, at the end of every accounting year, the finance minister is supposed to go to parliament to tell them how much we've collected, what we've used the money to do, how much debt is left. Now, when you look at the initial debt, that was about $400 million or so. And looking at the fact that the toll debt is 8 pesos per liter, then we should have finished paying the debt by 2009. Unfortunately, we are still paying. Nobody is accounting to us. One another levy was the exploration levy, which was supposed to be given to GMPC. Meanwhile, from 2010, we started giving GMPC allocations from the oil money. So that fund, that levy should have, for instance, for that one, fortunately, in 2015, that one was scrapped. But we are saying that the toll debt recovery, and some of these debt make other petroleum or power expensive. My brother was talking about the fact that we should pay realistic tariffs. Yes, but what is happening is that when you take, say, the industrial average, which is about 50 cents, very high, one of the expensive, more like in the world. But not everything goes to the power generators. You see that there are so many taxes, VAT, and so it is going to the government. Meanwhile, the government is not even paying for the power it is consuming. So what I believe is that, yes, the MPP said they will do a technical audit of the power sector. And I think they are going to also look at the tariff structure and see which one we've VAT. Look at BOST, for instance. There's a BOST margin we pay still on when you buy fuel. Meanwhile, BOST is operating as a commercial entity. When you send your fuel there, they will charge you and store for you. So why should I pay for the same function? So that's more like double payment. And all these taxes, then we add another special tax of about 17% on it. So more like you are taxing the tax. So I think that we have to look at, yes, the technical audit is good, but also look at our tariff structure. And some of this one, toward the recovery, if you can't account to us, you scrap it. And going forward, all new levies, one, we should ring fence them. Then two, they should have timelines. That yes, we owe, ECG owes 1 billion. And projected that we're going to pay 1 CD per person per year. It will take us 5 years. At the end of the 5 years, we scrap that so that people will have some relief. We cannot be paying levies forever.
I mean, Doc, is there a way of hiding money or siphoning money for something else, not necessarily for your personal pocket? Maybe you can siphon a bit from there to do hospital projects, maybe siphon a bit from there to support agriculture, but you can't come out and say, look, I need this money for agriculture, so let me just keep it stored it, but when it comes, I balance it with, you know, free fertilizer or something.
I think that is where transparency is very important. For instance, if initially government was using the toll debt to recovery levy to support the energy sector, the government was bold enough to come and tell us that this is the debt we have. And because of that, I'm introducing these levies to take care of this debt. I don't think, yeah, people were not happy paying some of this debt, but we are still paying. So if you say that this is the purpose, and at the end of the day, you account to us, we know that we're going to pay till 2020. After 2020, you say, yeah, we finished paying that. Now we need 10 hospitals. And for that matter, government revenue is that low. So we need this support. I think people will freely support. But if I'm paying one, I don't even know what you are using it for. And you start introducing new ones. I think that is where the challenge is. So transparency and accountability, these are the things we need. Because we pay, and we should know what our monies are being used for.
So you are of the view that if you look at the taxing and the billing structure, you could delete certain things to bring it down?
Yes, that is it. I see that even when you look at the structure, the taxes and some of the levies, some of them are, you see them on the electricity bills at the same time on petroleum. So more like you pay it monthly on your electricity bill. When you buy fuel too, you pay. Some of them, you were paying them already, like street light levy. It was already in our bills. So why should there be another levy for street light? And who even off the street light? When you take between 2005 and 2015, street light consumption has increased by about 300%. It's not because we are increasing. Go around and see 12 noon and you see street lights on. They don't pay, we pay. So we should be able to look at some of these things, take some of the taxes off, and I think that everybody will be fine.
Yeah, Kojo, the layman would say that if we are producing 19 cents for residential, which is even, you know, our cheapest tariff, I don't know how much a business is doing.
Business is about 50.
Yeah.
Because they pay VAT.
Because they pay VAT and NHIL.
VAT, and they charge so many things on there. It's so...
Wow.
It's, really? Look at 92, divide 92 by 4.
Let me see, hold on 1 second.
92 cents, 92 pesos by 4.
And that's how much? Let me count it 1 second. So
that's about 23.
92
Yeah,
divided by
4. That's 23.
yeah.
yeah. That's how much some industries are paying, 23 cents. So some industries are doing 92 cents, 92 pesos per kilowatt hour.
Really?
Yes,
That's high.
that's very high, very
So
high.
so it's true that some if you're going to run like a major production, I mean those who do like plastic chairs, and so if you're going to produce it, you're better off going to buy a bulk of diesel
Well,
and
not
run with it.
necessarily. I mean, there are the bulk customer regime, which you can go through Energy Commission to become a bulk customer. Then you can now come out of the regulated market and become a deregulated customer. Then you can negotiate and get a few discount off the service charges that ECG charges you.
So do
And-
like 70 pesos rather than the 92?
you can get like something like a little discount. It's not a whole lot of discount, but a little discount that will now go towards something else that you want to use. You know, so if you want, going forward, you want to now look at your own generation of electricity. There is a project that some of us want to basically bring to the attention of the incoming government. Maybe they might be interested. You know, when we did the West African gas pipeline, that was a primary network. There was supposed to be a secondary network. The secondary gas network was to be in Tema, where the West African gas pipeline was supposed to come into Tema, supply the IPPs, but also have a network of gas within Tema, like what we have in the UK and other developed nations, where industries get fed with gas.
Gas.
So instead of having a diesel plant, you can have a gas plant. And some industries can generate their own electricity with those gas that will be fed into the secondary gas pipeline. That is something that we are thinking of reintroducing to the incoming government.
But have we left land banks for that?
No. I mean, that feasibility was done. I mean, the feasibility was done. How to do it was there. BOST was to be the managing agency for the gas infrastructure.
Okay.
That is there. It's just a matter of, because the West African gas pipeline didn't take off the way we supposed it to take off in terms of pressure coming in and excess gas, that secondary gas pipeline project was abandoned. But I think it's something that can be looked at, with a lot of companies now trying to look at LNG and the thought of we're going to have excess gas coming in into Sankofa in 2018. We can look at the secondary gas pipeline, where industries in the Tema enclave, the steel companies, and that can have gas piped directly to them, and they can generate their own electricity. It does two things. It takes them off the national grid. It gives them flexibility in basically deciding when their light goes off, like light doesn't go off, because they generate their own electricity. And there are a lot of new technologies that they can use to generate power using gas, which come to their doorstep. So that is something that, like I said, it's a matter of whether the incoming government is a listening government. Then we will introduce that proposal to them. And if they buy into it, we can look at how it will be rolled out, whether by private investment or government will want to partner. But I want to go on to the bit that Dr. talked on the toll levy, okay, briefly. If you go back into 2004 when they started collecting it, MPP from 2004 to 2008 never went to Parliament to account to the nation how much was collected. 2009 to 2006 to now, NDC have not gone to Parliament to account to how much they've collected. So that is why in the political spectrum, they are all quiet, because MPP never did it, NDC never did it. And we, the Ghanaians, are paying. And I recently hear Mr. Ewa come out to say that, oh, we're going to pay another 10 years more. Why? The toll levy was put in place for a specific amount. And even in the law, there's a bit where it says that after in a calendar year, we find out that the account which the levy is supposed to be put in, there is more in that account than the levy, than the debt. It should be given back to Ghanaians as a subsidy on fuel prices. And anybody who wants to look at the Act 832, 2003, will know exactly what I'm talking about, you know. And it has just been something that has come to stay. Everybody thinks that, oh, the Tema debt levy, the toll debt levy is there, and is there like something that everybody is supposed to pay. No, it's not. It was put there for a specific amount, for a specific period, and we've elapsed. I was thinking our brother from ASAP would test it in court, but they've not done that.
We'll put pressure on them. But Kojo, let me stay with you. I mean, looking at how much we are producing And if Ivory Coast is doing 9 cents, I mean, now I know they're only giving us 20 megawatts. I mean, can't we go and buy a few more hundreds of megawatts from them, at 9 cents? But it doesn't make, energy sense.
Oh, okay, sorry. Before I go on, let me correct you. The toll debt recovery levy is Act 642. Act 642, yeah. Okay. Act 642, 2003. Okay. Act 642. Right. Buying electricity from Cote d'Ivoire is only a stopgap measure. As a nation, I don't think we should rely heavily on that approach. Yes, the West African, but then you see, we need to develop internal infrastructure going forward. We can't, it's a stopgap. Okay, like you said, within the year, we have the West African pool. The West African pool allows flexibility in countries that have excess to sell on to other countries that at the point in time needs it. But it is not something that you rely on, because when they also gets into their peak period, because bear in mind, we are going to go into the dry weather. The dry weather means that between now and March, the Harmattan is going to hit and the water is going to go down. Kosombo, we've been lucky, it's higher, 2 meters higher than it was this time last year. Okay, it has about 5 meters above the lowest. Last year, this time, it was about 2 meters above. Now it's better. Going forward, if they run it judiciously and not open all the turbines for the water to come by during the dry season, come the next cycle of rainfall, we would have substantial amount of water in the basin, and we might not be able to fund wanting the way we're found wanting. But yes, it's good to buy from Ivory Coast as and when we can, but it shouldn't be part of our planning, okay? It should be a stopgap measure as and when we think that is appropriate. We should be looking at internal infrastructure, proper management, fiscal policies, so that we have enough resources to basically pay for gases and pay for the fuel that we need for our local generation.
Send your messages to 0560 800 000. 0560 800 000. Send your WhatsApp messages there, and then you can send me a message on Twitter at Nana Ansakwao, KWAO at Nana Ansakwao, and then I'll read out your messages. Or if you have any questions, we would read it out for you. Doc, let me come back to you. This Cote d'Ivoire thing, the same thing. I mean, is it not energy sense, common sense, money sense, economic sense that, look, the guys are doing it 9 cents? Go buy from them.
Well, I think that, I mean, in terms of power, we don't just look at economic, we also look at the politics. So when you look at the politics and even the economic, you see that how much Cote d'Ivoire will give us, the amount of power they will give us also depends on the power they need. So if they are producing, say, 2,000 and they are consuming 1,008, they can only sell 200 to you. Their demand has started picking up. As I said, before December, they were giving us in excess of 100. Today, at peak time, they are doing 20, meaning that they are also more like demanding so much. What we have to do is to also put in measures to produce power cheaper. So the area where somebody comes, we sit down with the person, then we say it is emergency plant. Almost every plant becomes emergency. Negotiate higher tariffs. Then we start producing and power becomes so expensive. I think some of these things should stop. We've had enough capacity, but we can add more. Why don't we have a policy that any additional capacity that will be added should go through a competitive bidding process? If we're going through a competitive bidding process, let us also look at the fuel that will be used, a cheaper source of fuel. So if we are going natural gas, as Kojo said, recently we negotiated the ENI gas, which was quite expensive, and they are doing the renegotiation. We raised a lot and number of issues. So looking at affordable sources of fuel so that tomorrow our power will also be relatively cheaper like Cote d'Ivoire. Because mind you, if we're going to get more fuel to even produce now, if I may be producing 4,000 and Ghana needs about 2,006, we have to sell the excess to other countries. Already now, if we have excess, Benin will not buy. They will prefer to buy from Cote d'Ivoire because that is cheaper. So if we continue to be
But they have
adding,
to use our lines, divide through our lines.
It doesn't work like that.
yeah, I mean that's why I said we have the West Africa power pool, and I mean it's more like an agreement. So even if there could be a charge, when you add that charge to it, we've already said that the gas coming from Nigeria to Ghana is cheaper than the gas we buy from if we're going to buy from ENI. So the same thing, they can, even if, let's say, hypothetically, they are going to pay for using the land. When they add it to it, it will still be more expensive than buying from Ghana. So I think that is where value for money, efficiency, making sure that our power becomes relatively cheaper, so that even when we have more, we can sell to others. I think that should be one of the policy directions of the new government.
And having more cheaper, not having more expensive, because if you have more and it's expensive, then nobody will take it.
Yeah.
And then you're going to offload it to your local industry. And we should strive to get to the point where industries will probably end up getting electricity cheaper. But if we don't, then we cannot build the industry that we need to employ the people that are unemployed.
Yeah. Coach, let me stay with you with regards to the rates that industry is paying. I mean, I knew industry always paid more than residential, but I didn't realize it was that much more. What is the fear, or how much, red tape do you have to go through to really bring it down to say, listen, industries are dying?
It's the generation mix. Okay. I've been trying to help some industries negotiate tariffs with ECG, and when they give you the tariffs and the mix, there is a generation mix, which when they add up, plus what Gridco charges, comes about 63 pesos. Okay, so to them, it's about 50 something pesos, then Gridco charge like 5 point something pesos, so you get 63 pesos. So the 63 pesos is nothing you can do about it, because that is how much ECG is getting at bare minimum. What ECG puts on is about 30 something pesos, which is their service charge. Okay, so what you need to look at is what we've been talking about: cheaper fuel. The cheaper fuel will bring down the generation mix. Then if that 63 becomes 45, okay, then it means that even if ECG puts in on their 30, you are looking at 70, so it brings down but unless you do something about the generation mix, that is the problem. Because the thermals that we are now using now, Akosombo, we all know, is not doing as well as it was. Bill is not doing as well as it's supposed to. Any new infrastructure that we build now, because the capital cost is new, it would not have been, it wouldn't be as cheaper as the Akosombos, which have now been amortized and the money is being paid off. So even if we build new dams today, it's still going to be an expensive mix anyway. But in the long term, it ends up being cheaper. Some of us are advocates of nuclear. The nuclear conversation is going on. The Atomic Institute have gotten an inspection done this year. Some green lights were given. There's further studies to be done. I think the government should grab the bull by the horn and find the investment for the nuclear. Because initially, when we are trying to recover capital investment, it will be high. But if Ghana is to be an industrialized nation, we need such investment in certain such generation. Because you're looking at 150, 300 megawatts, 40 megawatts, 500 megawatts. You have generation plants dotted all over the country. You can do another 10,000 megawatts of electricity from nuclear. And that will propel Ghana to the next 50 years, as what Dr. Sajifo Kwame Nkrumah did when he did Akosombo in 60 years ago. So that is the sort of ingenious innovation that a president should take a decision. Look, I'm going to go to the Americans, go to the Chinese, go to the powers that be to give me the money to do a nuclear plant that will give me 10,000 megawatts, and that would take care of a lot of our problems 60, 40 years down the line.
That's a brave and bold move. Except, is there ever going to be a time where energy would not be an issue ever to be discussed? It's just needless. There's no need to talk about energy. It's like, you travel, I don't know if it happens to you, but you travel outside and your phone battery is going, and then your first instinct, hey, let me top it up just in case there may not be power. I mean, is there ever going to be a time where, maybe our children or who will not talk about energy? I mean, it's there. You know, you're going home and you don't need to call it Kania or Hana.
Yes, Nana, I think so. I mean, and it will be, for me, I believe that, I mean, when we put things together, diversify our generation sources, look at alternative. In fact, yes, Kojo talked about nuclear, that's good. There are so many other sources, renewables, wind, and so many other things. So we take all these things, as I said, Sankofa may be coming 2018 and all those things. A time will come in the medium term where we'll have enough power for us to even supply some to other countries. But in doing that, as I said, if we want to sell power to other countries, then we'll have to make sure that we make it cheaper so that we can have that market. But very soon, I think that we'll not be sitting here discussing doom. So in fact, we'll be sitting here talking about who we should sell our power to.
And let me stay with you, ASAP. You see, the NDC government, anytime you've come up with a statement, you know, it's as if you're enemies. Oh, no, they are wrong. They are not right. They don't know what they're talking about. Oh, they are MPP people. You know, no matter how clear and open it was. I remember I used one of your reports to do That's My Opinion with this Mary and Karpal, and you're worried about, look, it was going to cost too much money, and you know, the charge when you don't use it. I did 2 shows out of it, and it's come to pass. It's sitting there. This new government, I don't know if you've had any talks, but are they also now going to switch, and then any advice you bring in is going to say, oh yeah, there they go again, they are enemies of the state?
Well, I think that we have a president-elect, so it will be a new government after January 7th.
Yeah.
So that is our hope, that ours is more like a policy think tank. We read, we research to generate alternative solutions, energy solutions, that we think can help Ghana. So when we do our studies, yes, we send reports to them. And most of the time, they take it, even the current government. When you look at the committee that is developing the regulations for the Petroleum Revenue Management, it sits on that committee. When you look at the committee for MIDA that is looking at ECG's concession, it sits on that committee. So important committees, when Parliament was passing the EMP law, they invited ASAP. He went to make submissions, and some of the things we said, competitive bidding, so many other things, they captured them into the law. So I think that, yes, but I don't think any government wants you to always put in that pressure and all those things. But yes, they take it, and most of the time we do it, I mean, in gentlemen, more like we give it to them. But when we see that, yes, we've done our best, and still we are doing the wrong thing, like the third day recovery, that is where we come out, and they may not like it, so they will have to also come. So I think it's more of politics, and we are doing what we think is right for Ghana, so we'll continue doing whether the new government accepts it or not.
Because you're going forward.
Well, going forward, I think, you see, this election was about something important, which was one person's ideology against the other's ideology. One person's ideology being that we don't care about the fundamental economics. We do mega infrastructure. We don't care about what advice we get. We think that this is what Ghanaians want, and we will do that for them. And some of us were like, no, hold on. That's not how economy runs. The prime position or the prime duty of a government is to get the economics right, okay? And the president, in various speeches, said that, look, you should run the government like you run your household. He says that, but his government was running contrary to the things that he believes in. They were not running the government and they are in their household. They were doing infrastructure projects that we can't afford. And some of us were saying it, but they look at it and thinking, my brother, we are in government, you are not. Why are you the one telling us this? But Ghanaians, on the 7th of December, gave a very clear message that do not take us for a fool. We believe that the economics is right. It was Dr. Baumia's message of economic appraisal against infrastructure appraisal. And Ghanaians went for economic appraisal, being that if you want the economy to move forward, get the fundamentals right. And that's what Ghanaians voted for. So to me, I think the incoming government will ignore ASAP at their own peril, okay? It's good that we have a whole all-inclusive, because what do we want? I don't want to be in darkness. You don't want to be in darkness. And if I step up to the new minister, and whoever becomes the new minister of power should not come and make the utterances like what Honorable Kabradonko did, giving unnecessary deadlines, making it look like you can. This problem cannot be solved easily. It's a very dynamic. When we started this in 2010, it was lack of infrastructure. By the time we got to 2015, it was no more of an infrastructure problem. It was a fall problem. So it's dynamic. So what you might be looking at one thing, by the time you get there, it's something else. So they should listen.
They should listen. On that note, let me say big happy birthday to Dr. Ishmael Aka. And thank you very much for, on his birthday, still serving God and country. What more can we ask? But I always give you this number if you want any of the shirts that I wear on the show. 024-366-2001. 024-366-2001. Dante's Fashions. Give them a call and they will make you a nice shirt. Male or female. I don't wear the female ones on the show, obviously, but they do make them. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And to you at home, tomorrow we'll be back to do this all over again. Thank you for watching.